Hi, I'm Ella McKittrick, and this is my African vacation. Our first destination was Cape Town in South Africa. We first visited Chapman's Peak, a lovely mountain with many things to do. Then we went snorkeling in Chapman's Peak. It had many animals. I saw seals, whales, otters, and even an African penguin. It was such a beautiful sight. Then we visited Castle of Good Hope. It is a very old historical place. It is very colorful and very beautiful. It was such a pretty sight to see, and I don't regret it. Our last stop was Boulders Beach. It was one of my favorites on our list. It was very rocky. The ocean waves were crystal clear, and it was so blue. There were many penguins. And then after that, we left Cape Town, off to our next stop. Second destination is Victoria Falls in Zambia in Zimbabwe. We first had a helicopter ride. It was such a breathtaking experience, but it was also so scary. You could hear the water crashing against the rocks, and you could almost feel the water spray coming up all the way from the waterfall. It was such a nice experience, but frightening. Next, we visited the Devil's Pool. It was one of the most scariest things I've ever done in my whole entire life. But it was very beautiful and so dangerous. Yet, it was very breathtaking. Lastly, we had a dinner cruise on the Victoria Falls River. It had great food. The water was glistening, and we saw elephants and hippos in their natural habitat. It was such a nice experience. And then to our next destination. Next, we arrived at the Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya. Our first stop, we did a hot air balloon a little before dawn. We arrived there in the morning to see the sunrise. It was such a beautiful sight. We saw many zebras in the field below and many other animals. It was a great experience. Next, we took a safari. We saw many animals like elephants, zebras, gazelles, lions, hippos, and even some giraffes. It was such a nice experience, and all the animals were roaming freely. Next, we went to the Mara River. It starts in Kenya, in the Kenya Highlands, and flows into the Lake Victoria. We saw many hippos, birds, and some crocodiles even. Then to our next place. Our next destination is the Bandagara Escarpment in Mali. We saw a bunch of cool houses, and they were all under a cliff, which is really neat. The village was constructed very uniquely, and it was very cool. It almost felt a little dangerous because I didn't know if the cliff would collapse or not. And then after that, we went to a bonfire later that night. It was very cool. There were many colors and many different masks that the village people wore. It was such a great time. And then lastly, we had a village tour. The village was very unique how it was architectured. It was very historical, and it was very, very old, which we learned. It was such a cool experience overall, and I loved it so much. Lastly, we arrived at the Giza Necropolis in Egypt. It was by far my favorite site this whole trip. They were so cool, the pyramids, and it was just a great experience. We first toured the Great Pyramid of Giza. It is the largest pyramid, and it's the best to stay in shape. This is the map of it, and that's what the interior would look like. Then we saw the Great Sphinx of Giza. It is 240 feet long and is 65 feet up in the air, which is really tall. And it was so cool, but it almost felt like it collapsed any second. And our last thing we did was a camel ride. The desert was so hot in the midday, but then as it got a little towards night, it got so much cooler. The camels were so strong, and they were pretty slow. And it was such a great time we had. We boarded our flight to go home. I'm so happy that I had a great time on my African vacation. I learned so many new things about their culture. It was so much different than the one in America, but it was a great experience overall. Bye!